Hey, everybody, welcome to Did You Hear About This? I'm Bill.
I am Scott.
How'd we just start doing this?
You set it up that way, and then I'm not even ready for it.
You don't even know I hit record, did you?
I did not. Who knows what the hell's on the front of this tape, card, whatever the fuck it is now.
I know, I do that too. Oh, yeah, let's get this on video.
We're almost video ready. We're getting close.
We are. Couple more decorations for the wall.
Yeah, I just got comfortable with editing audio, and now I'm going to get completely reset and not know what the hell I'm doing again.
Count all the mistakes, guys. We love it when you call us out.
My mistake.
They're so easy to fucking make. So we didn't talk about it, but last week I put out a version that had no sound effects, and you caught it about 3 hours later, and I'm like, how in the damn hell did this happen?
I was like, yeah, I mean, the show wasn't bad, but it's definitely missing something. There's no sound drops at all, and you were like, what?
Yeah. I don't even know how it happened. I didn't even check it because I was like, it can't happen. If you hear sound ends up on the MP3 file that I upload. So that's
You would think.
Now, the universe just likes to screw with me, man. It's that dark cloud around me.
It is Murphy's Law, man. If it can go wrong, it's going to.
And it happens on this show.
Every chance it gets.
It's kind of funny. I kind of laugh at it.
What more can you do? I mean, you get pissed off?
You ever see that Born Loser comic strip?
Yeah,
you remember that from the day?
I do, yeah.
I used to like that.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I started to really relate to the guy.
That's why you liked it so much. It was so relatable.
What comics do you remember from that era?
Far Side.
Hagar the Horrible.
Hagar the Horrible, yeah. Family Circus was always lame as shit, but yeah, that was there.
Garfield was always a top premier comic on my paper.
Yeah.
My paper being a Philly paper. You had a Reading paper.
We had Funky Winkerbean, which was a weird one.
I don't know that one.
The thing I liked the best about the funny pages was the spot the 5 differences between the 2 photos.
Oh, yeah, like the highlights books.
Kind of. I used to get highlights when I was a kid.
Oh, I hated highlights because that meant I was at the dentist.
Yeah. My grandmother got me a subscription for 8 years of my life. Goofus and Gallant, those fucking nerds.
I don't even remember.
Yeah. One was like the good kid, one was like the really rat bastard.
Oh, that's like us.
Yeah, kind of.
Which one of us is the good kid?
I'll never tell.
Well, I think we got some fun stuff to talk about today. Going to talk about the Twilight Zone movie. A lot of people know that there was an accident on that movie, but they don't really know the true story of what happened.
I have thoughts of what I think happened, but I don't know if I'm even accurate on that. So I'm interested to learn more.
And then we got a couple just news stories to go through, and that's it. That's a show.
Nice. Before we get too into it, shout out to Sister Trish and Brother Rob for giving us some podcast fuel for the evening.
And what's this? Heady Topper, right?
This is Alchemist Heady Topper. At one point, the most coveted beer to get in the country. You can only buy it in Vermont.
At one point, it's not anymore?
This came straight from Vermont, so maybe it'll show up around here in special bottle shops every now and again, but it's like $20 for a can or $20 for a 2-pack or something. But yeah, we have Heady Topper here, and we also have Alchemist Focal Banger. So
I don't think I've ever had that.
I have, and I think it's better.
I had a buddy who would go up, because we're in Pennsylvania. He would go all the way up to Vermont. He would go to Maine. He would just go for beer runs.
Yeah.
Because they had so many amazing breweries up there.
Yeah.
And Heady Topper is one of the ones he would come back with once in a while.
So we were up in Maine and Salem this past summer on vacation. Brother Tim, he took a trip to Treehouse and picked up 2 cases worth of beer up there.
I remember that name, yeah, Treehouse.
You can only get that in Massachusetts. They don't distribute any way, shape, or form. So a lot of these still remaining very popular, very coveted beers, they didn't make themselves available. It's still very much playing off of supply and demand like anything in a capitalist society would. So you have to go and make the pilgrimage to Mecca to get the goods.
I find it so fascinating. I mean, back in the day, you and me and a bunch of our buddies used to go every Thursday. Thirsty Thursday. We'd go to this place called Manitani, and they were early in the beer game. They had everything. And most restaurants around here didn't even have microbrews yet. This one place had seen the wave coming, and they had so much. We drank so much of that shit.
We were there so often, and we had our we were regulars. And they actually got us beer that they couldn't legally sell us because it wasn't licensed to be sold in PA. So they actually got us some hookups. I think it's the first time I ever had Hetty Topper was they gave us a can from their secret stash in the back.
Better delete the name. Well, I just gave
It's not their name anyway.
Oh, good. That's right. That's the town they were in.
That's the river that they're on, yes.
That's a clue if you want to go bust them. You want to call the fuzz on
I
them.
believe there's a statute of limitations on selling unlicensed beer.
Yeah. I don't think it's a crime worth going after.
It's at least 20 years ago. I was thinking about the good old days when we would go out drinking and, all the people we hung out with back then were pretty much all working for the same employer. I really feel like we were all drinking for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I think you're right.
we were drowning sorrows, man.
But we would put away 6, 7, 8 IPAs and didn't even count the calories because we didn't need to. We were young.
Yeah, for real.
And now when I have, my young employees, I'm like, what'd you guys do last night? They come out, I told you we were having a get together, my whole team. And I went back and I was like, what'd you guys do last night? Because I left at like 7. I'm done hanging out at 7 because I'm old. And they're like, oh, we got drunk. And I'm like, you guys look great. Like, was I this good the next day? I think I was.
Probably
I remember
back in the day.
Yeah. That was just unbelievable that I could ever have done that. Because now I cannot even come close. I have 2 of these and I'm going to feel it in the morning.
I'm still not counting calories, Bill.
Yeah, true. I'm not either. But I don't have the belly I used to have. Oh, I remember too, like when I was really gaining weight, I was like, what's wrong? Why am I gaining weight? Must be some medicine I'm taking. No, you moron. It's the 500, 600 calorie beers you drink.
Yeah. Young and foolish, man. Young and foolish. Probably spent a fortune and made some unhealthy life decisions back then that fortunately never caught up with us.
Fortunately, yeah.
Fortunately, yeah.
Cost a fortune. Do you ever think about how much money you wasted in your life?
Dude, you have no idea. Between Pokemon cards and video games and beers drank and college that I really don't use any kind of education from, I spend a third world country's GDP.
Well, I could add an ex-wife, so to my receipt. Oof. Well, we don't have any fuck-upperies. We don't have any mailbag. We might as well get right to the meat.
All right.
You wanna?
Yeah.
It's like a bad Twilight Zone. I think I'm growing a tumor.
All right. So what do you know about the Twilight Zone movie? It's a 1982 movie.
I know it was filmed like an anthology, right? Like it wasn't just one director throughout.
Right.
And I know shit hit the fan with John Landis because John Landis was never the same after this movie because somebody died on set.
Right.
And I know it involved a helicopter. Was he decapitated?
Well, we can get to all that.
Okay.
I'm just curious how much you know.
Yeah. And then the movie did come out and didn't do very well. Or did the movie never come out?
No, it came out.
It did come out, but it didn't do very well.
That I don't know. I don't know what the box office is.
Okay.
I knew it as a kid. Like, it was popular.
Really?
Yeah. Because Twilight Zone was always popular. And then they kind of say, hey, we can make a lot of money if we take the Twilight Zone license, put it on the big screen.
It was like 4 or 5 different short stories that really didn't connect with each other throughout this movie, right?
Correct. Let me tell you about the short stories real fast.
Okay.
So John Landis, that's who we're talking about today, he directed the prologue and the segment called Time Out, right? The prologue is based, all right, so there's 4 stories, but there's also a little thing that happens at the beginning.
It's usually like Ron Sterling?
Yeah, it's a bit with Dan Aykroyd.
So Dan Aykroyd played the role of Ron Sterling in this?
Not really. It was Rod Sterling would come out and host the show.
Right.
Right? So this was basically...
He was like the Elvira of the show every week. Kind of. Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd and the other...
Imagine, if you will, a world.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't in this.
No,
I think he was dead by then.
I'm sure he was, yeah.
So the beginning starts out, and it's Dan Aykroyd just driving in a car with Albert Brooks. Suddenly in my head, that didn't sound right. Yeah, I think Albert Brooks. Yeah, he was he was a big guy and a big famous guy in the 80s.
Sure, yeah. He was like a huge producer of The Simpsons.
That's right. Is that the same guy? Yeah, it is the same guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So those two are just in the beginning, and they're just telling jokes back and forth, and then all of a sudden, Dan Aykroyd goes, look at this. Like, this is a joke, and he shows his face, and he's a monster, and he kills Albert Brooks. It's like a shock. Oh, my God, didn't see that coming. So that's what they're talking about being a prologue. All right, so that's not
so
really...
So it didn't do like the floating eyeball and then like the clock that shatters or any of the traditional Twilight Zone opening...
Oh, you're testing my memory. That may have been during the credits.
Okay.
But basically, it's 4 stories and then whatever the fuck this was with Dan Aykroyd.
And it was supposed to be funny?
I don't know. It was weird.
Because it sounds dumb.
It It was very dumb.
Okay.
It didn't land at all. But then you get to the story. So John Landis does the timeout segment. That's the one we're going to talk about.
Okay.
All right. Joe Dante.
I knew Joe Dante was in there, yeah.
He directed the segment It's a Good Life. And this one's my favorite one. This is about a kid who has this like crazy power of telekinesis. And he meets a woman and brings the woman back to his house. Like, you're my new friend. And the adult's like, oh, all right, when the fuck, I'll come hang out. And, you know, they make that not so creepy.
Is this the one
sounding.
where the parents are like so freaked out by the kid and the kid just does whatever he wants?
That's
because
it.
If he does. Okay, I did see that. I know that segment very well.
That's it.
They actually parodied that segment in The Simpsons on one of the Treehouse of Horrors.
Oh, that's a good segment. Because once the woman comes in, realizes that the kid's got the parents terrified.
Yeah.
That's an interesting
He
segment.
could read their thoughts too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were terrified of the kid.
Yeah.
George Miller did a segment. He did
less familiar with George Miller.
George Miller is the Mad Max guy.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I'm sure he's done more, but I only know him for Mad Max.
Right.
So he did a segment that was taken from the original show. That was the Gremlin on the Wing.
They were going to have Shatner come in and do that, but Shatner did not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were going to cast Shatner to come back and reprise that role.
Guess who they got?
I don't know.
From Harry and the Hendersons, John
Lithgow?
Yeah, he was pretty good at it too. Over the top in a perfect
he's
way.
So good in everything.
Can't you see we don't want you anymore?
And the fourth segment I have here, and this wasn't the segment order in the movie, but the fourth segment was Steven Spielberg, and it was an episode called Kick the Can, which was also an original Twilight Zone episode being redone.
Okay.
So my understanding is 2 were original stories and 2 were old Twilight Zone episodes getting redone.
So the one that Landis did was completely original.
Correct.
Okay.
So you know there was a helicopter crash.
So it was a crash.
It was an actual helicopter actually crashing.
So I knew there was a helicopter involved. I thought the dude just like had his head completely like decapitated because of the blades. But I know the helicopter crashed in water. So he died from the helicopter crash or did he drown?
Okay, so you get a helicopter dropping on you in water. It's one or the other.
He wasn't in the helicopter when it crashed.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I thought about this. I thought somebody got into a helicopter and crashed. Okay, so here's what this segment's about. It's got a guy named Vic Morrow.
Yes, that's who is no longer with us.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
And he was like a character actor in the 80s and 70s, and I didn't really know who he was. I think his kid was on Northern Exposure. I remember there was
that was a show that my parents watched I didn't care about.
Barely remember. Just remember going, oh, that guy's dad is the guy who died in Twilight Zone.
I didn't even know that. The main character in that show? Like, I can picture the guy.
I think so. The dark-haired guy?
Yeah.
Skinny kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Vic Morrow is like this bigger kind of, stubbier kind of guy. So
shit.
So Vic Morrow plays a character who just walks into a bar with a couple of his buddies, and he's pissed off at the world. He's mad at his job. He's mad at everyone around him. He starts saying these racist things. And, these other guys are turning around looking at him like, you creep, right? It just gets worse and worse and more racist. So he's like, I've had enough of all of you. And he drinks his last sip of beer, and he walks out of the bar, and boom, all of a sudden, he's in a different area. He sees Nazis running around. He just somehow teleports back to Germany, to World War II. And suddenly, for some reason, he's Jewish. And they see him, the Nazis see him, and they start chasing him. Right away, you're like, what's going on here? It's some kind of moral lesson, that the Twilight Zone put this guy back in time to see, to basically say, how do you like it? How do you like being on the other end
of it?
You got it. So he's kind of dealing with some bullshit there. He runs again. Next thing you know, boom, he's in the Vietnam War, right?
And he's Viet Cong?
Yeah, and he's Viet Cong. So all of a sudden, these Americans see him and start shooting at him. There's helicopters flying around. There's explosions everywhere.
And that's where the helicopter comes in.
That's where the helicopter
I knew it was like
comes
a
in.
Huey helicopter. Yeah, I thought he was decapitated. Okay.
He may have been. I mean,
I thought it was just like, oh, a guy died from a helicopter. And I was like, oh, well, that's what happened there.
So there's actually more deaths than just him. There's 2 deaths that are children.
Really? And what was the name of the segment?
It's called Time Out.
Time Out. So he was out of time.
He was out of time.
Oh, okay.
Like the Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Wasn't there a game or something called Out of Time? I don't know.
Turtles in Time.
There you go. Weird how my brain just fires random memories like that. Can't remember my own driver's license number, but I can remember Turtles. All right, well, the 2 children, their names are Mika Den Lee and Renee Shin Yi Chen, right? So they were on the set. Their parents let them be on the set. There's all kinds of laws about when you can have kids on, when they shouldn't be on. There's labor laws, all kinds of things. This movie production paid the kids' parents under the table to allow these kids to be on set. They weren't
at a
supposed
time
to be
they
there.
weren't supposed to be because of a dangerous stunt.
Just because of labor laws. I don't really know the full details there, but they just weren't supposed to be filming there.
And they were child actors.
They were very little kids. I don't even think they were technically actors.
Oh, wow.
All they had to do was be big enough to be picked up by Vic Morrow using both arms, and he's running through the water trying to rescue these kids.
Right.
Then the helicopter crashed on all of them. So when we watch the movie, you can see the helicopter. You can see Vic Morrow. You can see him running through the water, but you don't see the kids. They cut that segment out, but they left the other segments in until
right up to his death.
Right up until his death.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a ballsy decision.
Yeah. So in the movie, there wasn't 2 kids. But yeah, there was 2 kids in the scene.
That also died. My God.
So after this happened, there was a 9-month-long manslaughter trial, right? And all this stuff started to come out about Landis and the way that he works. Another thing that was going on that set, because it was a Vietnam scene, there were explosions, bombs were being set off, fake missiles, all sorts of things. So he did such a bad job monitoring that set and making sure that he had real safety on the set. At one point, one of the people in the trial were like, yeah, we found an explosive under one of the decks of one of the houses that were blowing up that nobody had even realized was there, and like it wasn't set up right. It could have gone off at any time. Like there's all kinds of chaos like this.
Wow.
It's way worse than the Rust set.
I was going to compare that to the Rust set. I mean, that was, I guess, falling on Alec Baldwin because he was a producer, but he wasn't a director on that.
Right.
So
I just mean the safety issues of bringing real explosives, dangerous shit to a movie set.
So how much of that falls on the director? I mean, I guess I don't understand the roles of people on movie sets to understand who gets the finger pointed.
Well, with this guy, with Landis, he's always pushing the envelope when he gets these movies. And he was kind of getting known for that. So doing these, shenanigans of bringing kids in without, knowing, and having crazy bombs go off without the proper supervision, which probably costs a lot more money, and he wants to stay under budget. So he ends up getting known for doing this kind of stuff. Remember, he directed Blues Brothers. Remember,
I was watching Blues Brothers last night.
Remember the giant car crashes?
Yes.
Like, that's out of control.
Yeah.
But that's the John Landis touch.
Rolling, rolling, rolling. Keep them doggies rolling.
So I got here, the disaster left a lasting mark on director John Landis' career as it showcased the deadly consequences of unsafe working conditions and risky stunts, all of which were captured into disturbing footage of the incident. You can see this chaos on, where else? YouTube. Like, you can actually go see long shots of the scene.
That seems in bad taste.
You can't make it out. You know what I mean? It's one of those really low quality things. You don't really see what happened. You just see explosions. I don't think anybody put the actual helicopter squashing people.
Okay.
So I'm talking about crazy explosions and shit on the set. That's what took the helicopter down. So all of a sudden, the helicopter's flying around, and one of the explosions on the set flies up, clips the tail of the helicopter, puts it into a spin. That's why it lost control.
That's what caused the crash.
And it crashed right into the water onto the 3 people.
Wow. You know what? I know the show used to be called Too Much CGI. Maybe there's times where CGI is the better answer.
Well, back then, there was visual effects and practical effects.
I know.
They really didn't have any digital effects that could do anything like this then.
You mentioned Rust, and we talked about this on the show before, where, like, why would you ever have a gun that fires projectiles on a set? There is technology now that can get that chance of danger off the set completely.
Yeah. Well, this news broke pretty fast. Everybody knew about this story. It was national news. What do you think happened to Landis?
Well, I know the next thing he did in 1983, Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Michael Jackson's Thriller. This didn't hurt the guy at all.
He did take a back seat from like big movie roles for, I think, about 9 years.
Yes. So it eventually caught up to him. But he got a couple things after that. He got the Michael Jackson thing. Remember Trading Places with Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy?
What are you talking about? Trading Places?
Oh, I'm thinking of 24 Hours.
Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd and
yeah.
Happy Christmas, Merry New Year.
But while he's still making movies, like inside Hollywood is like, this guy sucks. We hate this guy. You know how everybody used to hang out together in that period? Like it was George Lucas hanging out with Steven Spielberg. They were all together.
Sure.
Well, John Landis was kind of part of that crew. Steven Spielberg never worked with him again, never talked to him again. Like, people were pissed about what he did.
Because he was loose and fast.
Yeah. He was sloppy.
So here's a question. Aside of like Hollywood elite that kind of like distance themselves from him, what was the public opinion? Do you have any feeling on like what public opinion of John Landis was after this news coming out?
From what I read, it was all like, boo, hiss.
Boo, you stink!
But we'll go see your movies anyway. Like, it almost didn't slow anybody down.
Well, my reason for asking, right after Michael Jackson's Thriller, in 85, he directed Clue, the movie Clue.
Oh, yeah.
And Clue didn't do very well in the theaters. And I happen to really enjoy the movie, so to hear that it didn't do well, is this the backlash of Twilight Zone?
Could be. See, I didn't know it didn't do well.
Yeah, I don't think it did well as far as box office reception.
I remember Clue being on HBO and Cinemax and Prism all the time. So to me, when you see it on that stuff all the time, you think it's a big movie.
Oh, he was just a producer on that, though. He didn't direct.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
He did things like Oscar. Remember that?
Vaguely.
Yeah, with Sylvester Stallone. Like, now he's not starting to have hits anymore. Now he's getting the scrap scripts. He's getting like junk stuff. Finally, this experience caught up to him, but it's odd. It happened years after the incident.
Yeah, I'm seeing that here, looking at IMDb. He produced and executive produced a lot of things, but as far as directing, Here Come the Monsters.
Nuh-uh, really?
Yeah.
Is that on the list?
He produced Here Comes the Monsters.
Oof. The crazy thing is, he didn't go to jail. How did he not go to jail?
Was there a trial? I know you said manslaughter charges against him personally.
Him and 4 other people.
Wow. Did anybody go to jail?
No.
Is this why his son got a job in Northern Exposure? Is this like a plea?
What do you mean?
Is this like a settlement? Like, oh, you know what? We're going to put your kid in acting. That's what he wants to do?
Well, John Landis is the one in trouble, not Vic Morrow.
But that's how they settled out of court.
We'll make sure your son continues.
We won't give you millions of dollars now. We won't do jail time now, but your kid's going to be well taken care of.
The Morrow family was like, we're in.
They're Hollywood elites now.
Well, wrapping it up, it says here, the tragedy of the Twilight Zone movie raised significant questions about safety regulations and responsibility on film sets. While Landis did not face personal consequences as severe as public opinion suggested, the accident became a cautionary tale about the potential dangers of pushing boundaries too far in Hollywood. The incident serves as a reminder that even Hollywood's brightest talents are not immune to tragic mistakes. And when I'm a kid watching these giant productions, I never think this shit is, potentially going to happen where something's going to be, like a stunt is going to go wrong. You just feel like they put so much money and time and care. And then as we get older, we look back into some of these productions, you're like, man, that was some haphazard shit. Holy crap, some of the risks that they took in the 80s. Hell, some of the risks that we took as kids in the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about some of the things we did bad decision-wise that didn't catch up with us.
Yeah.
Sometimes luck falls your way. I guess sometimes it doesn't.
Well, it fell John Landis' way until it just finally, the stench got too much and he just isn't in Hollywood anymore. Wow. You don't see him anymore.
Yeah, it's funny, and not to give any spoilers because I know you're not watching it yet, or maybe you are. Are you watching the newest season of Only Murders in the Building?
I am.
So Jane Lynch in that show plays a body double for Steve Martin, like when he did his old 1970s Brazos show.
Brazos, yeah.
And they do a little bit of background on stunt people like back in the 70s and 80s, and she was kind of part of that. So it's funny. Not funny. It's ironic that we're talking about stunt people and how stunts can go bad because they kind of touch on that in this season 4, I guess, we're watching now of Only Murders.
Yeah, I like that character, Zaz.
Yeah.
So it's Jane Lynch, and she dresses up exactly like Steve Martin.
And she pulls it off.
And
she looks like him. Yeah. They're built the same.
They're built exactly the same. So like the first gag is, oh, your stunt person was a woman? Huh, that's kind of, But then she keeps coming back into the show, and she's a more developed character. And she's like, I've studied everything you've done. Like, you wake up in the morning, I know exactly how you brush your teeth. Like, she's kind of weird.
She like dates 2 of his ex-girlfriends.
Yeah. But I've heard that sometimes actors and their stunt people become really good friends. Mm-hmm. I've heard that. So this might be a play on that kind of
you got to figure they're taking hits so the actor doesn't have to.
And then you wonder about like the actors that do their own stunts. How much is Tom Cruise really doing?
I don't know, man.
I've seen some footage of him banging against, a plane like the thing is in the air, but how high? But there's still risk in some of the stuff he does. I can't believe a studio lets him do anything. I can't believe insurance.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Vic Morrow, in previous roles he took out insurance, like life insurance policies for himself. And when they asked why he took out, like I think the role prior to this, he was also in a scene where there was a helicopter. And he actually said he's had premonitions that he was going to die from a helicopter.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, it's in the trivia and things did you know on IMDb for the Twilight Zone movie.
Did you just read that while we were doing the show?
No, you told me we were going to talk about this movie, so I actually read it last night.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and he didn't take out the insurance for this one. He did it for the movie before. So I don't think he had the life insurance policy in place for Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah. Don't get the policy when you're on set with a helicopter.
Well, he wasn't going to be on the helicopter. It wasn't part of the role. What could go wrong?
His premonition was just a little off.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's an interesting movie. It's not even a great movie. The worst episode in the show, I'm calling him the segment, I should say, is Steven Spielberg's segment. Holy hell. He didn't even try. He really phoned it in. The thing I read was he was too torn up over all of this, and he was like, oh, my God, this movie.
Wait, wouldn't these 4 segments have been filmed at the same time to then come together and edited together?
I'm not sure.
Like, why would you film them like the segments in order?
Yeah, I think they probably were. It's to some degree.
You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like a good excuse for why your segment shit the bed.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was really torn up.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, you filmed 3 months prior to him. What the fuck are you talking about?
Never thought of that, yeah. Could just be bullshit.
Yeah.
The only thing good about Steven Spielberg's segment is it had Hong Kong Phooey himself in. It had Scatman Crothers.
Number 1 super guy.
Scatman Crothers. No shit.
Hong Kong Phooey.
Yeah, that was the thing about the Twilight Zone as a television show as well. Even when Rod Serling was doing it, there was always like 3 episodes or 3 segments per episode. There were some longer ones, but there was always the good one and then the other 2.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the movie.
Yeah.
There were 2 good ones and then the other 2.
I remember the Omega Man was a great one. It was the last man on Earth. Like all he wanted was peace and quiet. And he was like the lone survivor of a nuclear fallout. All he wanted to do was read his books, and then he broke his glasses and he couldn't read the books. There was always that real wry twist at the end, careful what you wish for.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Twilight Zone, and then I remember the 80s, this came out, but then there was more. There was Tales from the Crypt. I remember Friday the 13th had a show.
Really?
That was an anthology show. It wasn't a Jason show at all.
That's what they were trying to do with Halloween, like we talked about. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
I said Tales from the Crypt. Wasn't there Tales from the Dark Side? Do you remember that?
I remember Tales from the Crypt. That was an anthology. I remember Tales from the Dark Side. That was a comic book, though.
Yeah, I think they even made a movie about that.
Really?
Yeah, anthologies, you don't see them around anymore.
No, that's not true. American Horror Story.
Okay. Well, let's put it this way. You don't see shows that are American Horror Story is still
it's storyline throughout.
Yeah.
It's like anthology season to season. It's not episode to episode that they don't connect at all.
Right. That's what you don't see anymore.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
In TV or film.
Yeah.
The last movie I could think of that did that I've seen at least, was Trick or Treat. There's a Halloween movie.
Trick or Treat?
Trick or maybe.
With Sam?
Yeah, I think so. That was the little pumpkin kid?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a Trick or Treat from the 80s that has Ozzy Osbourne cameos in it.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite 80s horror movies. It's so stupid. Play a record backwards and a demon comes to life.
Yeah, I remember that. Shit, I haven't thought about that in a long time. You know what? That reminds me of a game I thought of. I'm not ready to play it this week, but for next week, and this could be a reoccurring game, I challenge you, come up with 3 names that no one has thought of in the past 2 decades. You'll get a point if I know who you're talking about. And if it's holy shit, I never would have thought of that guy again.
Oh, people, not movies.
People. Actors, musicians. It has to be somebody that's not obscure enough that nobody's going to know who the fuck they are. But you haven't thought of them. You wouldn't have thought of this person. I wouldn't have thought of Scatman Crothers. I'd have given you a point for that. But along those lines, I think it's going to be a good game.
Let's play it right now.
I have one.
Go ahead.
Kurt Loder.
Kurt Loder. I just saw Kurt Loder the other day. I was watching some footage. I was watching old MTV footage about, what was it? It was a lawsuit or something. And there's Kurt Loder on
you
MTV.
kidding me?
MTV News. Kurt Loder.
No shit.
Yeah. All right. I got one for you. Stacy Keach.
We just talked about Stacy Keach.
Strike that. Tom Atkins. That's what I meant to say. Tom Atkins.
Tom Atkins.
Sometimes I mix up Stacy Keach with Tom Atkins.
I can't place the name.
So we were talking about Halloween 3 the other day.
Yeah.
Amy and I just watched it. Tom Atkins is the main guy in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I knew you were talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was his name, though.
Yeah, we watched Halloween 3.
And what do you think? Because I know you said when you were a kid, you thought it was dog shit because there was no Michael Myers.
Yeah. Well, it was still not great, but it was oddly interesting.
I liked what they were going for.
Yeah, man, it was weird. Like you go to a town and all the robots are walking around. It's like, what? I don't remember robots in this fucking thing.
Oh, shit. That reminds me, robots. I started watching this morning at like 5 a.m. Terminator Zero on Netflix.
I've been thinking about watching that. Yeah, you like it?
I don't dislike it. My problem with it is it seems to be pretty one trick. I mean, every scene is there's an unstoppable robot with a machine gun walking slowly after somebody that's running like crazy. So it's Terminator 2 in every episode that I've seen so far. Now, I've only watched 3 of them, but I'm kind of like, is this going somewhere? They bring AI into it a little bit. It's nice that it's animated. There's some other stories going on. But when you said robots, I was like, oh, shit, yeah, I'm watching this. And part of why I watched it was I accidentally hit the Netflix button on my remote control. And I thought, all right, prove me wrong, Netflix. Show me something I want to watch.
Yeah.
What I found was my problem with Netflix is not that there's not anything to watch. There's too much to watch. And you get fucking like decision paralysis.
When we said last episode, exactly what you're saying, it's like, no, who's watching Netflix? Brother Dan wrote it. He goes, oh, what are you talking about? This show. And he named some show and it's already forgotten. He's like, it's one of the biggest shows out there. I'm like, I've never even heard.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, that's too much content.
I thought the same thing. There were, I mean, to go back on something I said last week, not that it's a fuck-uppery, but I did learn now, there are some episodic shows on there. You can go on and watch like a half an hour episode if you want. But the vast majority of everything that's like trending, they're like hour and a half, 2 hour, 6-part, hour-long each episode documentaries and shit. I'm like, I don't have time for this. So I landed on Terminator because it was smaller and easy to digest.
You said one trick pony. I think the whole franchise is the same thing as what you just said. It's one robot chases humans. Eventually the humans beat the robot.
And it was like, oh, they sent somebody back in time to kill this guy that did that thing. It's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
They've been doing it since 82.
I know. We're still waiting for a surprise. It's been the same movie nonstop.
You know what happened the one time? They sent somebody back and there was an energy field around him and it melted part of a building into like a circle. I was like, yeah, I know. They did it with 2 tractor trailers in Terminator 2 in 1992. The fuck?
With a naked Arnie.
They are still naked.
I like they tried to turn it on its head. They turned the formula upside down in part 3 and brought a naked woman.
This was a naked woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, in the cartoon, it was a naked woman.
Yeah. Well, the humans apparently sent somebody back too. Because, that's what they do.
I love it. You just fix your problems by sending somebody back. It's like when Superman flew around the planet so fast that he reversed time. Remember in Superman, the 78 version, the Donner version?
Yeah.
I remember hating that going, well, shit, man, if you're that fucking powerful, don't just save Lois Lane. Like, you could go all the way back and fix anything.
Absolutely right.
So dumb.
Such a strong power. He can fix anything. No, he'll never use it again.
Yeah, he won't. He just don't want to.
I always thought it was dumb. I was like, what does the direction of the Earth have anything to do with time?
I think that director was probably the same director who made Ferris Bueller's Day Off when they tried to
put the car in
reverse the miles.
Oh man, poor Cameron.
That's such a great scene.
I loved it.
I remember watching it for the first time going, oh, that's clever. That's definitely going to work.
My favorite scene is when they drop the car off at the parking garage, and the next thing you just see the 2 parking lot attendants just sailing over the fucking hill.
Yeah.
Oh, they were the hair flying in the air. It's so good.
They had the guy in that movie. What's his fucking name? The guy that's not in Beetlejuice. By the way, I saw Beetlejuice.
Oh, the Diddler.
The Diddler, yeah.
What is his name?
I can't remember. He's out of Hollywood for diddling. But in this Beetlejuice, he's referenced a lot. And they're showing his likeness all over this. Spoiler, I should have yelled spoiler, but his likeness is in this movie. And I said to Amy, I'm like, I can't even believe they're showing this guy's face. And she's like, well, the character in the movie didn't diddle anybody. The actor did.
Yeah, that's that whole thing with like separating the actor from the art.
Yeah.
Or the artist from the art.
It was awkward seeing him. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It took me out of the movie a bunch of times when they were talking about this guy. Like, just write him out.
I'm not going to go upstairs and hop in my car and driveway listening to fucking P. Diddy. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, that P. Diddy shit. I'm following all of that.
Yeah. I'm still not listening to R. Kelly.
No.
I mean, you're not going to separate the art from the artist successfully 99% of the time.
If half the stuff I read about this P. Diddy thing, because this is YouTube journalists sourcing all this, it's crazy how good they're doing because everything I've seen has eventually come out in court so far.
There is a documentary on Netflix right now about P. Diddy.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of the information was provided by 50 Cent.
Yeah.
Because he hated him.
He hated him. And he's been saying, and like, there's footage of him saying all kinds of shit.
He's been like hinting at this going on forever.
Yeah. And we didn't know to listen. Like, why didn't we listen?
He said, no, don't touch him. Don't shake his hand.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
He was like, yeah, we just thought it was like stupid rap battles and like ego. And it's like, no, this guy's diddling kids.
Yeah. There's a guy out there. He's like, oh, yeah, I killed Tupac. I was told to kill him by Puffy. And he's like, he's been saying it on YouTube forever. And nobody's been putting this together. Nobody's even aired this into the mainstream until just recently.
It does seem like a very crazy claim to make on YouTube. You know what I mean? It seems like an attention grab. It's too honest. Like, I wouldn't believe that somebody would tell me that.
Well, now evidently it's all in the court documents and this guy's going to be in trouble for it. And yeah, so I'm afraid to say too much because it's still a developing. I don't want to go to court for this dopey little podcast. Like, pull me in and fucking get me for slander and libel and all those things.
Wow.
But the things that I'm reading, holy shit, like all Hollywood's going to burn with this.
So that was the Twilight Zone.
That was the Twilight Zone story.
I had no idea that like kids died. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did not hear about this.
It was a reckless 80s thing. I only thought it was just like an accident. Accidents happen. The best intentions were there. They made sure that the set was safe. Nope, none of that.
And it's not even that it was like a malfunctioning helicopter. It was like you shot a helicopter out of the air.
Yeah, with an explosive.
That's crazy.
They didn't mean to. They didn't mean to hit the helicopter.
Well, I know that, but the fact that it could even happen is disappointing.
Yeah, it's why you don't shoot missiles at helicopters. Because there's a chance you could hit a helicopter and have it come crashing down.
Holy shit,
on a movie
man.
set.
Could you imagine? Wow.
What do you think they were shooting that reached the helicopter, though?
I mean, it could be a bottle rocket, I think, that could hit like the back tail rudder. I don't know how sturdy helicopters are.
Oh, wouldn't it be amazing if a bottle rocket could take down a helicopter?
I don't know, man.
Not Airwolf. That fucker would stay. That thing was bulletproof.
Ernest Borgnine made goddamn sure of that.
You know what's funny? I got an Airwolf story for you.
No shit.
Bonus story coming from my memory. Like I said, with the turtles, things just pop in there. So I don't even know how I know this story, but Airwolf, that helicopter was like a real helicopter. And it looked sleek as hell. And I always thought, oh, they made that for the show. Nah, it was just like one of a very few helicopters that looked like that. So after the show was done, they tried to keep this Airwolf going as long as they could. The John Michael
Vincent.
Is it John or Jan? Jan
Michael Vincent. There you go.
So he eventually even left the show at one point. They replaced him with another guy. They really tried to keep the show going. Finally, they fuck it. We can't do anything with this anymore. And they're like, what do we do with the helicopter? So they sold it to some crew who would use it to go do rescues. Well, the damn helicopter crashed on one of the crews doing a rescue. Yeah. So if you ever wanted to know what happened to Airwolf, it's fucking gone because it smacked into a mountain trying to rescue some humans.
Did it kill anybody?
That I can't remember.
Wow. You remember the boat version of Airwolf with Hulk Hogan?
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Was that the boat version of Airwolf?
It was.
Tropic
Thunder?
What? Wait, that's the movie.
That's the movie with
Robert Downey Jr. was in that movie.
Downey Jr. and Jack Black.
Jack Black, yeah. No, this was something Thunder.
I think it was Tropic Thunder.
And the movie was Tropic Thunder?
Think so.
You know, you could write to us at
Look it up, brother.
Did you hear about this.show? Tell us if we got it right. Yeah, I don't think it's Tropic Thunder, but I think it's something similar.
It's Thunder something.
Thunder Lips.
No, different Hulk Hogan. That was a different Hulk Hogan vehicle.
You want to get into the news?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, well, we've been talking a lot about old 80s franchises that are coming back. Cash Grab City. We just saw Alien Romulus. That came back. I thought that would be a turkey. Turns out it was a hit.
Yeah.
So what happens when Alien Romulus is a hit?
There's going to be Alien Romulus too.
Or the people at Disney who now own Fox go, Alien did well. How about we do another Predator?
Oh,
so
brother.
So just announced another Predator called Predator Badlands coming to theaters in 2025. Not even doing just streaming like Prey did. They're pushing this one to the theaters.
Prey was a nice change of pace, but Predator, ever since they merged Alien versus Predator together, and I know people were asking for it. I know it was a huge hit in Dark Horse Comics. Ever since they put those movies on screen, and there was Predators, and Alien versus Predator, and this and that and the other fucking thing, and they all name them kind of the same thing, but a little bit different, and nobody can keep track. They've all been dog shit.
Yeah, they've been terrible.
It's almost as though fucking Lionsgate put them out.
Maybe they do these things in a way, it's like, we got the license, we got to do something, just do it cheap. We know that we'll get a certain amount of money back. They can't really expect this to be a hit.
But how often do they keep cramming it down your throat?
I don't know. They wouldn't do it if it didn't make money.
I guess if they're doing it on the cheap, even a little bit of money's money.
But you're right. I mean, I don't want to see this.
No.
And I loved Predator as a kid. It was one of my all-time favorites.
Well, they kind of fucked up Predator 2.
Yeah, I didn't love Predator 2. But it's another one of those situations like Terminator. The damn story's the same every time. Predator comes to hunt.
But T2 was better than T1.
Story-wise?
Production-wise, movie-wise, it was a much more enjoyable movie to watch.
Yeah. But the premise is still pretty much the same.
Yeah, it was almost like we have technology to do this better now, so James Cameron did it better.
I even think I heard that Terminator 2 was supposed to have Schwarzenegger as the bad guy again, but Schwarzenegger was getting so popular and people were loving him, they're like, well, let's make him a good guy and write the story around this crazy concept of him being good. But that's not that fucking thoughtful of a twist. I mean, that's about the only twist you can give it.
But
and then then turn him into a woman in part 3. Like, you got nothing left after 1, 2, and 3. That's where they should have stopped.
Yeah, but T2 is so good with that new technology and using that fucking, liquid nitrogen to shatter the bad guy and have him be like AI liquid metal. That was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
When he morphs out of that parquet floor or that, what do they call it?
Parquet? Butter? I remember the butter.
It's not parquet. Parquet is what they had in Madison Square Garden. When he morphs out of that checkered police station floor, that black and white checkered floor, and stabs that guy in the eye.
Yeah.
That was so fucking cool.
Yeah. That was great special effects. But
when he's using the mom's voice and he stabs the mom in real life, through the mouth with holding the milk carton.
Yeah.
That was fucking cool. Or the stepdad, I guess it was.
Yeah.
The foster dad. Oh man, there were so many cool scenes in that.
There's one split second where you can see they shoot the silver guy and his head splits. And if you look real fast at this one bad edit, you can see where they take another angle of the split head and it's a guy wearing a mask and you can see it's totally a mask.
Yeah, it's on the elevator scene.
Yeah.
In the hospital.
But other than that, I mean, the thing was perfect.
It was a good movie.
How the hell we get back to Terminator?
Because it was better than anything they put out for Predator. That's how.
Well, what if they bring Arnold Schwarzenegger back for this? That would just be a total fan service cash grab. I would hate to see it. The fuck would he be doing back?
The only way I want to see this is if they go and follow the story of that guy that got stabbed in the chest.
Yeah, I want to know what happened to him. Stick around. Kids were probably broken up.
Well, now his kids are going to want revenge. What if they're the protagonist?
Now, that's a funny idea. Predator Badlands. The
Badlands. What was the name of the town they used in all the things? Start with a V.
Yeah, what was that? Yeah.
Shit. I can't remember. It was like a shared universe thing.
Yeah. Oh, I forget too. Yeah.
It wasn't like Veracruz or something, but something along those lines. Is that what it was?
Something like that. Not Veracruz, but something Vera something. I think you're right.
Yeah.
It was that Sousa guy who wrote all the stuff in the 80s. He had this one little place that he made up, and that was it. All that action was happening on that one little island.
That got to be the Badlands. And that guy's kids have to be like a tag team duo that are like out for revenge.
They're out for revenge. They actually create technology that reaches up to space to harken the predators back.
Oh, it's a reverse predator. Because remember the one predators, they were like sending people out to these different planets just to be hunted.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
Now this is a reverse. Now the kids want, come back here, motherfucker.
Yeah. So they bring the predators in, and they're doing everything that they can to get the predators to kill Dalton. Duke. What's his name?
Dutch.
Dalton Duke Dutch.
You son of a bitch.
Get to the chopper. Is that where Get to the Chopper came from?
Get to the chopper!
Yes.
All right, next story. You big Hallmark fan?
Nope.
Hate it. Hate everything about it.
I guess I should say Hallmark Channel. I don't mean the card
I know what
store.
you mean. I'm not a fan of either.
Well, you're really going to hate them after this. Hallmark did not want to cast old people like Holly Robinson Pete. You know who that is?
I do.
And Lacey Chabert. I never knew how to say her name. I've always read it, never knew how to say it.
I don't know her.
She's from Party of Five. So she's
yes,
the
I
kid.
do. Yes, I do.
So I guess they're big people in the Hallmark universe.
They're not big anyplace else. Holly Robinson Pete was on Hang with Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, that's right. I was trying to think of where I knew her from. She married Rodney Pete, the old Eagles quarterback.
That's right.
Hallmark executive VP of programming Lisa Hamilton Daly told her staff she did not want to cast old people, saying they did not fit with her image for the channel. A new age discrimination lawsuit filed against the studio claims. In the suit, Hamilton Daly is quoted as singling out Holly Robinson Pete and Lacey Chabert, who are 60 and 42 respectively. Jesus, I'm 50, so I'm...
You old fuck, you ain't getting no Hallmark either.
I'm not getting there either.
No good.
Unless they need a Santa Claus. I can pull that off. So the suit claims that they are examples of old talent that needed to be replaced, according to this woman. All right, so this is a quote. Lacey's getting older, and we have to find someone like her to replace her as she gets older, Hamilton Daly allegedly said. Of Robinson Pete, she said, no one wants her because she's too expensive and getting too old. She can't play leading roles anymore, the suit alleges.
Isn't this where like Candace Cameron Bure went to get famous after Fuller House?
I don't know. I don't watch this channel.
Yeah, okay. Sure you don't, Bill.
Well, I didn't know Robinson Pete was
such
a big star.
I never heard it. These are all names that would have gotten you points for names I haven't thought of in years, but know who they are.
Penny Perry, a 79-year-old casting director, filed the lawsuit on October 9th in Los Angeles Superior Court. She alleges that she was unceremoniously fired in April after 9 years with the company. According to the complaint, Hamilton Daly repeatedly told Perry that she was too long in the tooth and sought to have her removed as part of the goal of finding new talent. So Hallmark replied to the statement. So they made a public statement here. They said, Lacey and Holly have a home at Hallmark. We do not generally comment on pending litigation. And while we deny these outrageous allegations, we are not going to discuss an employment relationship in the media. Right? So that's interesting.
All right.
It's a thin answer that they got.
No comment.
Right. Perry is Perry is the one that the casting agent, the old lady casting agent, as they would call her. Perry is an industry veteran whose casting credits include Cocoon, Young Guns, and The Never-Ending Story. According to her complaint, she suffers from multiple sclerosis and is legally blind in one eye. She alleges that Hallmark failed to accommodate her disability. Then it says, the last bullet, Perry states that she received strong annual performance evaluations, including one just 2 months before she was fired. So they're like, you're a legend in the industry. You have some, issues, but you're a legend and you're getting great scores. We love you. And then 2 months later, you're too old. You're casting people that are too old. You're fired. So she sued.
The most amazing thing about this story is I feel that the ages they're discriminating against is their fucking key demographic.
I'm so glad you said it because that's what I was going to say. That was the first thing I thought here. Like, isn't old people...
The only people I know that watch this channel or shop in these stores is my mom.
Right.
Her friends.
Right.
And your wife.
No, my mother-in-law does.
Well, I don't know. Amy always has the Hallmark new Christmas ornament book that she used to bring into work all the time.
Well, that's a different thing. Yeah.
That's still Hallmark, buddy.
Yeah, that is. But every time I go to my mother-in-law's house, there's a TV on. It's always the Hallmark channel.
Oh, dude, especially around Christmas time.
And now that you say it, like, I've never really thought about it, but they are always young people. It's always some young love story. It's the most vanilla G-rated love story out there.
Remember last year's Christmas show where I put together all the different Hallmark stories and how fucking stupid the premises were for the movies that I made one up? And you couldn't even figure out which one I made up because they were all so fucking dumb.
I don't remember what we did last week. You think I'm going to remember?
We're doing that again this year. We're going to do the Hallmark movie Christmas game.
It's just so strange to me. I mean, if your demographic is old, what's wrong with having old people?
Yeah.
Old people identify with old people.
And those movies are so fucking stupid and saccharine.
All right, enough of the Hallmark shit. Let's get to the cool shit. Let's get to some cool ass-kicking macho bullshit like Daredevil Born Again.
Oh.
Yeah, the new Daredevil show coming to Disney Plus. You've heard it?
I have.
You heard about it? You know what it is?
Coming out in March 2025.
Oh, my God. Why do I even put these things on paper?
Yeah,
I
just read the story.
I'm excited for this. So the trailer was shown at New York Comic-Con just on Saturday or Sunday, so a couple days ago. And like they do, some kid filmed it on his phone and it leaked out. And I watched it. I was like, this looks like the Netflix show.
This is with Charlie, what's his name?
Puth.
No.
Day.
Nope.
Brown.
Downtown Charlie Brown?
Downtown Charlie Brown. Chaplin.
You have the story. Read the fucking story. Chaplin.
It's Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox. Why couldn't I think of Cox?
So it stars Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. I can't say his name. D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio both showed up at the Comic-Con. Nobody's, expected them to be there. They walk out. It's like, woohoo, we're doing the show. So it's an official announcement. However, the bad news is the Blade movie.
Axed.
Yeah. So while they're doing all of these, while Disney's doing Marvel.
That was with Mahershala Ali, right?
Yeah. So while Marvel's doing all these reveals, they left that one out. It's not even on the board anymore.
Well, I saw the board, and the board's like, series to be announced, series to be announced, series to be announced. Avengers, series to be announced. Like, they really weren't announcing what any of these things are, but Blade is not any of the theatrical releases.
Nope. Disney decided to put something else in that spot. Do you know what?
No.
Predator Badlands. That's taking the place of
Why would
Blade.
that show up? I could see that showing up on like the Disney schedule, but why the Marvel schedule? That's not Marvel.
No, but I think Disney doesn't want to have too many films competing with themselves.
I guess you don't want to bastardize them. Yeah, it's true. Or cannibalize them.
Well, I'm into this Daredevil. I have been waiting for the MCU to get back to just
and to
street
talk
level.
About, yeah, I agree. And to talk about Vincent D'Onofrio and like his Kingpin character, loved him from the Netflix series. Really good. I was afraid when they brought him into the Echo series, they kind of pussied him up a little bit. Got shot in the face. He was kind of like punked out. And then he came back with like a...
Oh, that was the Hawkeye.
Oh, that was Hawkeye.
Yeah, where he got shot. Well, maybe not.
Well, then they kind of picked him up again in Echo, though.
Yeah.
So I hope they get him back to being some ass-kicking, running for mayor kind of guy, right? That was where it left off in Echo, right?
It seemed that way. Yeah. There was like the ending where he's like, oh, there's opportunity for me in New York. I want to see him in the new
Yeah, but here's
Spider-Man.
the problem with that. They're going to have him run for mayor, so he's running for political office. Now it's going to get politicized. Now we got fucking political statements and who's reading into what, and it's going to be real world, and keep that shit out of it. Just make it comic books,
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe they're learning their lesson.
I love your optimism, dude.
They may be.
Learning their lesson while they're losing their money.
I mean, this looks like a return form, so.
Dude, the Netflix series, whether it was 2 seasons, 3 seasons of Daredevil.
Yeah.
So good.
Very good. It was a little long. There was too much chatter. There was too much of the church stuff. There was too much like long, drawn out scenes of darkness and not enough fighting. But if they can bridge the gap and do the normal kind of style they do with this old MCU stuff, add a little bit of that Netflix stuff, I think they might have a good mix.
The last thing I remember from that series, they brought in Elektra. Elektra was killed. Then she was brought back to life by the Hand. The Red Hand.
Right. I barely remember it.
But then they never did anything after that, right? Because then the whole buyout happened, and we never saw what happened with Elektra from there.
That seems right. Yeah. Well, I know in this new show, they brought back Charlie Puth. They brought back the two sidekicks, right? There was Foggy, and there was the other one I can't remember from
True Blood.
From True Blood. Yeah, I can't remember what her character's name was.
Yeah, I can't either.
They're bringing back Punisher. So they got that guy who played Punisher.
He was good.
Yeah. Whose name I'm also forgetting.
Not Barenthal, but...
Yeah,
John Barenthal. John Barenthal, okay.
So he's coming back. I think I heard that the guy who played Bullseye in the show is coming back.
Not Colin Farrell.
Not Colin, yeah. That was the Ben Affleck one.
That was right, yeah.
Nothing else to say there. Just excited that there's finally something I'm looking forward to.
I am still watching Agatha all along. I really enjoyed last night's episode.
I haven't seen the breakdown yet. I do know they revealed the other thing I talked about on this show. That finally came out. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to spoil it.
And they actually changed her look to match the comic book version.
Really?
Yes. And it was pretty cool. But it was in a vision. It wasn't in real life like a threatening thing. It was a vision that the clairvoyant witch had, and she was like, oh, this is who this is.
I was talking to my work partner. I mean, he loves all this Agatha stuff. He's into the witches. He's into all of it. He loves Scarlet Witch, too. And he's like, I think this could lead into a story where she gets to come back because they did her dirty. That sucks. The way that they played her out with
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Yeah.
I don't want to see her be a bad guy. She's awesome.
Yeah. I'll say this. Of this whole Agatha series, I am enjoying it. Again, I'm still really not connecting this to a Marvel thing. It's just a good show to watch right now. And my least favorite thing about it, surprisingly, character-wise, has been Catherine Hahn.
You're kidding.
And not because she's bad, just like I think her character is just weak compared to how good these other characters are. Patti LuPone's character last night was fucking lights out.
Huh. Yeah, that's a completely different piece of feedback than I got from my business partner. He thinks Catherine Hahn is amazing in this.
I love her as a character actress. As good as she was in WandaVision, she's just meh in this for me. They have her written weird, and like they're trying to give more backstory without her divulging anything, but people like gleaning things off of her and reading things off of her. Like she wasn't the one that killed her coven. Like she was a victim of her coven trying to kill her. And like they're trying to like give more meaning to her backstory, that she's more of like a tragic hero than she is a villain. But at the same time, I just don't care because everybody else's story is just so good.
Yeah, he was telling me there's a lot of little pieces of symbolism and things thrown into the show. Like they really put some thought into this one.
Yeah. And last night's episode brought a lot together. So now this coming week, this coming Wednesday, they are actually going to do a double drop for Halloween. And now it's the last 2 episodes of the series.
Maybe I'll watch that one. Only the double drop.
There you go.
I just can't watch the whole season. I'm pretty happy just watching the recaps on YouTube. But if there's a good reveal at the end, I'll be sad that I didn't watch this. I'll be like, you dumb fuck, this was the worst time for you to kick the MCU.
I watched She-Hulk and I missed this one. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Right. Speaking of Marvel, as we're talking about Marvel having a hit, remember the Turkey Secret Invasion?
I did not watch it.
I did. Ooh, that was horrible. Just horrible.
Or was it Skrulls?
It was the Skrull thing with, Samuel L. Jackson.
It was the series, though.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
God, it was so bad. It was just fucking terrible. Well, there's numbers out now about how much this thing actually cost. Marvel's Secret Invasion cost nearly $250 million. Can you believe a show has ever become this expensive?
The story just came out and said cost too much.
Too fucking much.
This is too much for anything.
Disney has revealed that the cost of making its Marvel Studios spy drama Secret Invasion surged to a staggering $224.3 million after it shelled out $37.5 million on post-production on the 6-part streaming series. So post-production, I think, is usually special effects and editing.
Yeah, cleaning up and editing, yeah.
The colossal cost is revealed in filings from Disney, which state that the Secret Invasion was forecast to be over the production budget. It makes the critically panned show 37.9% more expensive than Marvel's highly regarded second season of Loki. And there was a lot of special effects in that. Tons.
Yeah.
And I remember a lot of the stuff that was in this
Secret Invasion. That entire TVA was just fucking CGI.
Yeah. Everything they were doing in there was CGI. They had all this...
The spaghetti, everything.
Yeah. They had sets that they had built from scratch. A lot of what I remembered from Secret Invasion was they were out in the street doing location shooting. So I would have thought that would make it cheaper, but maybe it's expensive to, get permits and all that. I don't know.
Edit people out.
It says here, remarkably, Secret Invasion cost even more to make than many of Marvel's big screen blockbusters, including Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor: The Dark World, and Captain America.
Wow. I was going to say I would like to hear some comparable budgets to hear how way out of whack those numbers are, but that does it right there.
That does it right there.
Holy shit. And that was just like a bad series.
Horrible series. Like the money that's being wasted. Like, look at Lionsgate. You sent me an article today about...
I sent you an article to defend myself because I'm not just picking on Lionsgate. There was factual evidence that the last 7 movies that Lionsgate put out, including Megalopolis and Borderlands, were complete dog shit.
Complete bombs. 7 movies in a row.
And they said, market analysts looked at it and they said that these movies were all like varied movies, varied types of movies, varied audience goers. These movies weren't cannibalizing off each other. They said that Lionsgate was trying to like provide movies in genres and areas where other movie studios walked away from that. So it was like an area, believed to be like ripe for getting moviegoers out to see, and nobody cared.
Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Is there a guy in charge who's greenlighting these stories, being like, yeah, it's a good story, let's make a movie?
If there was, I'm thinking not anymore. Or it's a different guy.
Well, the way CEOs work, they always fall forward.
Golden parachute.
Yeah, get another job somewhere else. Well, that was it. That's all my stories.
Wow.
Felt like a fast show, right?
It did feel like a fast show. How long have we been going?
Well, according to my recorder, it's an hour and 14 minutes.
Holy shit.
How much is going to get cut out?
45 minutes?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Well, next week I got a treat for us.
A Halloween trick or treat.
It's going to be more along the lines of the Kentucky Meat Shower or maybe Killdozer. I'm going to talk to us about the 1855 Toronto Circus Riot.
Whoa, I don't know anything about this.
I didn't either, but holy shit, did I go down some rabbit holes.
In Toronto, Canada?
Toronto, Canada.
Oh, they're the nicest people I've ever met. Anytime I go to Canada, they're all nice. I can't imagine a riot. That's such an American thing to do.
I oftentimes describe Toronto as the clean New York. It's an incredible city. It's huge. The people, you're right, very polite. 1855, riots.
Yeah. Some people call it America's hat. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't say that. Some people say that.
All right, well, that's all we got for this week. Tune in next week to hear about the Toronto Circus Riot of 1855. We'll educate you on some crazy historical things. You know what they say? People that don't remember their history, bound to repeat it. No more circus riots in the future. So tune in next week, learn a little bit of history. Thanks for listening this week. Tell a friend. And again, stupid, yet strangely satisfying.
That's us.
Catch you next week.
You let me go. I can stop all this. It sounds like something out of the Twilight Zone, but it's true, all right?
No!